In case for the audio, I am wearing a Hey Arnold shirt. Hey Arnold, Palmer. Titties. Yeah, I palmed her cheeks like a good old woman's basketball. Because I can't grip the men's one because it is a whole ounce bigger. And for some reason, those aren't the only reason why my balls are deflated. Talk about taking the balloon out of that one. Or the air out of the balloon. Look at me already fucking it up. Almost like a Pennywise. Except this opening is definitely not it. Welcome to episode 88 of the Often Be podcast. I'm your host, Clint. I feel a lot better today than the last episode. Haven't even posted 87 yet, but I'm going to tonight after I record this one, banking in a couple because I'm going to be working some hours this week. So I'm going to make sure to give you and myself a reason to continue doing this when there's almost no reason. Wow. It's almost like I'm writing a Kurt Cobain suicide note. But Courtney just couldn't give him enough love. Maybe if she was Courtney from Hooters on Peachtree. Maybe Drake is the Kurt Cobain of today's era. It's a lot of sadness in his music. He just decides to parade it with a lot of booty shaking and child's play. You know what they say? Playing a child's game at a what's the fucking saying where you're playing a child's game at a ransom type of money. I forgot what the fuck it's saying, but essentially you're playing a children's game for a ransom amount of money. Yeah, and we wonder why people playing a child's game or a childlike industry that rewards endeavors and abilities that only the young children would ever dream of actually doing and fulfilling. Wonder why they act a little cool. I don't know. I thought about what if I had $20 million at 24 and the world is just telling me how great I am. I would probably be doing the opposite of what I am now. I would not be doing a podcast to eventually make that income. I would probably be saying, suck my nuts. I probably wouldn't even listen to podcasts because I'd be too busy making that bread and, stuffing her crust instead of saying, would you like it to be dropped off at your doorstep or should I just go fuck myself? Now, okay, here's where I'll start today. So I saw this video earlier. Well, it wasn't really a video. It was a YouTube channel actually covering. So apparently this is why I never did Doordash, by the way. I did delivery as a job for 4 or 5 years. Never did Doordash, and I never would. There's a lot of skepticism with them. It just seems like a pain in the ass, all these extra fees and shit. And I just don't think as a quote-unquote employee, people like to call themselves independent contractors and make themselves more important. It's like, yeah, I mean, you still have to follow a guideline of rules to make sure, you can actually legally deliver food for them. So you are an employee, so shut the fuck up. Anyways, DoorDash is one of those things where there's a lot of fees, there's a lot of extraness to it. It just seems like not many people I know that do are like, yeah, dude, I make hundreds of dollars a night. So this lady apparently dropped off someone's food, rang the doorbell, and it's pre-tipped apparently. Apparently, you know how much you're going to get tipped before you even pick up the food, I guess. Because everything's through the app or whatever the fuck. Fast forward, drops it off. He has like one of those Ring doorbells, so he can literally talk to her through this doorbell thing. she's like, she starts saying, hey, you need to add more to this because I drove 40 minutes across town. And he's like, well, no, it's literally a 15 to 20 minute drive. And then the news report actually did the Google Maps, and it's like 5 miles away, and it's like a 12-minute drive. But we'll even say with traffic, we'll say 20 minutes, right? She was demanding that he added more to it. Now I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe he's one of those assholes that like tipped $1 for a $35 delivery. And I understand that it's weird to feel like you need to add a decent tip when you're paying a $7 delivery charge, $4 extra this and that. Like, I get it, but hey, that's the service you chose to use. If it's that much of a problem, pick it up yourself. Something this guy tipped like $1.50. This dude tipped $8. And this fucking cunt had the audacity to be like, hey, you need to add more. He's like, no. Go fuck yourself. He didn't literally say go fuck yourself, but honestly, I probably would have. And I have a lot of heart to heart. I have a lot of, I don't even want to say sympathy because there's nothing sympathetic about working a job. But I feel, because I understand the ins and outs. I understand the underwhelming tips you get at times. I also know you get a lot of overwhelming tips as well. Like, to me, everything typically evens out and balances out. I've had days where I made over $200+, and I've had days where I made less than like 50. But there's been more days where I've made close to the $200 than $50. I was fortunate enough where I worked. But neither here nor there. I just feel that that's just really uncomfortable. Like, even if you feel like you can be angry, you can feel like, fuck this person. You can make judgments about someone not tipping or not tipping what you perceive, and that's okay. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I don't have courage. Maybe I'm a pussy. Maybe both are true. I just don't have it in me to demand that someone give me more of their money. And although I am not of the belief that literally the idea of just someone tips you is literally, there's this weird ownership type of relationship between the customer and the delivery driver where they literally feel they kind of have you at mercy, where I'm literally your income. I'm literally your livelihood, which to an extent technically, but you also don't. I mean, I'm pretty protected even if you don't tip. I'll just say that. It's just a little bit interesting. I just don't have it in me to be like, bitch, but I have my money. Don't act like you forgot to give me your own money that I didn't even, feel a requirement to. But the fact that she felt really comfortable to be like, you need to tip me more when they gave you a pretty decent tip as is. I think it says a lot about her as an individual. But I think it speaks for itself. Fuck me. I'm not in this belief that there should be a tipping percentage requirement per se. I do believe there should just be a common decency, like tipping line service, where, like, to be honest, I think 10 to 15%, it's fine. I think 10% is kind of you just want to do the bare minimum and pretend you're doing your part, and it's not really. I would honestly rather not be tipped than be tipped 10% or less, right? That's just me personally. I'm not going to turn down you 10%. I'm not going to sit here and side-eye you or nothing, but I would honestly rather be. I honestly think tipping a very small percentage, I think tipping less than $1 for something is actually more disrespectful than not tipping. Because at least if you don't tip, you could tip you could tip. You could tip your cap to negligence. You can make all the excuses in the world. You can just be like, I didn't know, whatever. It's like, I don't know how these I don't know how it works over here. It's like, okay. And then people always say, well, it shouldn't be the customer's, it shouldn't be a person's responsibility to pay your wage. It's like, it's really not that much different than you going somewhere and someone's getting paid hourly. Like, it's this big funnel of money. Everything contributes to everything working. But since this is direct that I'm literally a dictator with how much you leave today with. But then they will also bitch about employees who are going to get the same set amount, regardless if they have to deal with you being a cunt or deal with none cunts that day. They're going to get paid the same $80 and take their bag and go home. I just find it a little fascinating that apparently that kind of loses traction over time. I do find that interesting. But yeah, it's the fact that she felt comfortable feeling like she deserves more. And what's the fine line between deserving more and having respect and knowing, quote unquote, your worth? Like, what the fuck does knowing your worth mean? Like, who are you to decide you know your worth? It's about when you really think about the ego of, quote unquote, I know my worth or I know my value. The person that least understands your value and your worth is probably always going to be the prism that is inside that value. That's why when they make evaluations for things, they bring third-party evaluations. I can look in the mirror and tell myself, you got something here. And there's a lot of evidence that says otherwise. But you know what? I believe I'm worth it. I believe I'm David Beckham. And I can spice your girl up. Fuck you, Clint. But you know what I'm not? I'm not David Beckham. I could bend my dick like Beckham. And that's why it's trouble with the curve. Talk about a split seamer. Oh, Jesus. Talk about a screwball. Don't want to get that knuckle patch. But look, there's a reason why we have a bunch of votes. And there's a reason why when there's MVP races or Heisman Trophy races, there's a reason why there's a lot of people that vote for that stuff. There's other people. You can't vote for yourself. You can't even participate in the voting as an individual. You just are a participant. To sit here and be like, I deserve the best. Says who? I think I'm just weird at saying I deserve anything, right? And that's not, Clint being humble pie. It's like, nah, it's just weird to feel like, it's just weird to really think of yourself that I deserve more than what is given to me or what I have earned. Not to get into the whole, what have you earned? It's like, but to sit there and be like, I deserve more than what I have is the really definition of ungratefulness. But here's what I also understand. I also understand that desperation makes you act irrational, and morality really goes by the wayside. The issue with money being such this driving factor is people will do things for money that they would not do to better themselves as individuals. People will go to great extents to make sure they're able to pay, their next car payment. The things they will do to scrape up that money will surprise you from the most high morale people. You notice how the people that preach the most morality and preach the most giving back somehow fell the most at it? Is it because if we just preach about it enough that apparently that all of our bases are covered. Possibly. Or maybe there's some empathy to, I struggle with this so much that I felt like I should speak on it most. It's like, I mean, look, if you felt a couple times, sure, but if you haven't gotten it together, stop preaching that you've got it together. It's just, I think people, well, not these days, I don't think people are surprised, really, what people will do for money and how much a lot of people will succumb to some things to make sure that money ain't a problem unless you can't solve it with more. So, I'm going to assume if someone feels like they deserve more than an $8 tip, I'm going to assume she's struggling through a lot. I'm going to assume that maybe she's financially not in a great place, which is okay. But again, your problem is not my problem. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be there to help each other in need, but it shouldn't be assumed that when you're down on your luck, that there'll be something there to make sure that you won't hit below in the red in your PNC bank account. But if you do, and you're fortunate enough, then be grateful. But if you're not, you still need to be grateful. I know that sounds fucked up, and this is coming from a person who has delivered. This is coming from a person in that business. And I've also been fortunate to benefit the most off it from location, benefiting the most, making a shitload of money for what it is. It's pretty insanity. Here's like a dirty little secret with delivery, is that a lot of us make a lot more than we want to admit, and we really kind of not get away with thinking taxes, but a lot of the extra money you make, they will never know about it, so you're not going to get taxed nearly as much. And when you have enough of a income from hourly checks that where the tips aren't really going to be the main source that they look at, there's so much gray area that you don't have to admit to and they can never prove. That doesn't mean you lie or nothing like that. What it's saying is you may not necessarily know how much you made if all your money is literally in cash. If a good portion of your money is cash. So, although I feel for her, at the same time, seeing someone feel like they deserve something more from another individual is very weird to me. It's just a very uncomfortable feeling. Now, let's keep it pushing to the limit. You know what's funny? There's this in my room. This is so fucking right. In my room, I literally have I have a fuse box. I've never opened it. But there's a lot of fuses in this. There's a lot of electrical. There's a lot of power control here. For some reason, I feel like this is not for my whole apartment. I feel like this is like for this whole floor. Maybe even be for the whole building. I could shut this bitch down. And I could still do this podcast. Because all I need is a laptop to be powered and this camera. And I realize I could literally just ruin fucking people's night. And honestly, a little bit of me feel great. Hear kids crying because, they can't watch their Paw Patrol and realize, you know what? I'm doing you a favor. You know how bad it is to be looking at a bright fucking screen while you go to sleep with little fruit flies flying around? You know how bad it is for your eyes? You know how bad it is that I have to parent your children? You know how bad it is that Clint has to be the man and voice of reason for something he's not qualified to have a voice or reason with. I think it speaks a lot. And you know what else speaks a lot? Ever held a baboon? And the baboon grabs your bananas. And I don't mean the one in your pants. I actually mean a banana. And it sticks it up its tailpipe. And when you put the Google Translate out, and it translates from baboon language to English, human language, you're like, why did you do that? And the baboons say, just seeing what type of audience I appealed to. And that's when a baboon got a type of Friends deal. Very friendly deal, you could say. What's the fucking monkey off Friends? Marquise. I'm pretty sure that's not the name, but... Oh, Marcel. You know how much that monkey probably got fucking paid on Friends? Marcel. That monkey probably made more in those episodes. Which is always kind of weird. It's always weird how for these animal fucking shows, these animal contests where you see the little poodle Labrador, you know, with curls like fucking Cruella de Vil off 101 Dalmatians. And it's not even a Dalmatian dog. It literally just looks like Cruella de Vil. I don't know if that's designed, but you know what? Fuck it. It kind of looks like a panda, right, designer? Panda. Panda. But haven't heard from him in a while. I guess he got a little oozied from under the table. I guess he didn't care if you cried. And hopefully you're not his friends because all of them are dead. But anyways, isn't it kind of... No one ever wonders where does these rewards go for these, you know... It's like every Thanksgiving or Christmas, they have those fucking dogs running around on a little obstacle course. It's basically American Ninja Warrior, but for paws. And I wonder if they get like a whole LeBron James cryotherapy treat. Can dogs do cryotherapy? I mean, you probably can. It's basically the Iditarod. No one talks about the Iditarod's kind of animal abuse, but it's cool. Peter's like, oh, look at them. They look so cute. We're going to make a movie called Snow Dogs. It's like, all right, go fuck you. But the Iditarod, no, anyways, but yeah. Where do these prizes go to? They don't go to the dog. It's not like they could put in a fund where it's proven that every single purchase is made for that dog. No. Animal owners are basically conservatorships for animals. The same way we had issues with Britney Spears' dad, which we should have. Having full control over finances and life. And there should have been a third party monitoring the expenses that her dad was quote unquote observing. That's the thing. There should be third party on top of second party. We're just cool. It's basically like Brian Kelly getting a fucking 10-year 95, or Lincoln Riley getting these 10-year $100+ million contracts. Now with the NIL, you know, it's a little bit different, but look, they're still not making like money. Let's keep it real about it. But it's weird how we talk about student loans. I don't understand student loans as really separate companies, because the companies that you actually take money off, they make sure they pay the school. The school's good. The student loans is a complete separate entity you have to deal with. I just decided not to. That is a great lake I do not want to dive in. Don't call me baby Unless you need $6,300 from me. But let's just say they are not a ponding to deal with, as the young whippersnappers say. But it's I find it interesting when people always want to talk about college athletes, the Division I football and stuff like that, and basketball. They're so absurd that they're getting this money and stuff. And we always talk about we have all this student loan problem and all this shit. And yet all these coaches are getting $100 million contracts. Maybe finances aren't struggling that much. And I understand that's really only a small percentage that could give $100 million over a decade to a coach and all this shit. Just don't sit here and tell me that it would be absurd to award a college athlete $20,000 a year. Each athlete. If you can give a coach $10-12 million to go 10-2 and not even fucking win the big game, and not even really take your team there, they just make it interesting. Ride the wave. Get a little Sputnik in their step. Except the stars always seem to align for when they need to get paid. I also find it funny when they always say, like when Brian Kelly left and all of them, they always talk about, well, the players are what matter. The players play. The players are what matters out there. It's like, yeah, so you're saying players are the reason why you're successful and you get all this money, but the coach gets all the reward, and you just admit that the players are the reason why you've been successful. But okay, it's kind of a weird dynamic. It's weird that it's just accepted, hey, I know you're the only reason why anyone gives a fuck about me, why anyone thinks I'm actually half decent at this. I know y'all are fucking amazing, and I'm just, I just, quote-unquote, motivate you, or, quote-unquote, use generic terms like, I'll put you in positions to succeed. It's like, well, I mean, I would have a problem. You know how dumb you would have to be to not put someone in a position to succeed? You're going to put a guy who runs a 4.3 and you're going to waste him and put him at, like, long snapper? No. What do you mean positions to succeed? The positions are carved out for them. Oh, we're going to only put them in offenses that fit their skill set. It's like, well, no fucking shit. Why would you teach? Why, if you're in a history class and you're teaching about the 17 to 1800s, and then on test day, everything you've been going over, you gave them a study guide, you gave them the whole breakdown of what they need to study for a test. And then all of a sudden, you make them take a Spanish test. And you're like, hey, you know all that shit I just taught you? Nah, you're actually going to do Spanish. It's like, we didn't even learn about the Spanish. So what does this correlate? It absolutely doesn't. But hey, I expect you guys to succeed. Like, this stuff's really not that hard. I'm not saying coaches shouldn't get paid. What I am saying is I don't want to hear about athletes have everything. It's like these coaches have issues even with NIL, or even the ones that have come around, but you can tell they prefer not to, and they try to pull that education shit. It's like, you can't say they're getting all this education, but then you require 12 hours of their fucking day to be dedicated to something so you can get paid. Imagine that. And people always want to bring, quote-unquote, real-world business. It's like, yeah, you know what? Real-world business? You want to get real about real-world business? Real-world business? Real-world business? Real-world business? Yeah, I repeat it 5 times because I want to make sure I say it correctly. Stutter step. After a while, when you feel like, hey, a lot of people that are really good at this get paid a lot. Why don't I get paid? It's like, but you work for a great fucking company. You get health insurance. So shut the fuck up. It's like, yeah, but if I just got paid what they got paid, I wouldn't need your fucking health insurance. It's like, hey, we're giving you health insurance. Shut the fuck up, you ungrateful sack of shit. It's like, I kind of work 10, 12 hours a day. It's like, I don't want to hear it. You know why? Because it's free labor. And although it is fun to play football, it is fun to play basketball. And it's okay that we've just made this system and we just accept it. I'm not even saying there should be like salaries and stuff. What I am saying is that don't sit here and tell me that it's okay for a coach to be making hundreds of millions of dollars while their players get essentially none of the university money. All their money all the money that players get has to be outside. It has to be dealerships. It has to be sponsors and commercials. Everything outside of the university. Because the payment is this education that they can't even really take advantage of more times than not. Especially the bigger the program you play, where the dedication to football has to be obscene. So, but you know what? What the fuck do I know? Shut up and throw a spiral, you sack of shit. That's what they tell you. So, have you ever been in a drive-thru? What is the longest you'll wait in a drive-thru for food? I used to tell myself, first of all, let me tell you, I hate drive-thrus in general, right? The only time I go through a drive-thru is if it's past midnight, the dine-in is closed in a place, and I don't have a choice. If I have a choice, I will always go inside. And sometimes, if the inside's not open, the drive-thru is, I'll just decide, you know what, I'm good. I'll go to a gas station. I'll go to Quick Trip, grab a taquito, shove it up my throat, and shit it out 10 minutes later and say, Sriracha Ranch, baby. Sriracha. Let the baby twist on the twister. Talk about twist the sister. But what's the longest you'll wait? Because I'll be honest, it's grown on me. There is kind of a beauty of just sitting in a drive-thru, waiting excessively longer than you need to. Like, I don't care if it's wrapped around the building. If it's wrapped around the building in a typical size of a Taco Bell, a KFC, Crystals, you know what, even if it's wrapped around the building, shouldn't probably have to wait more than 23 minutes. Even at the slowest pace possible. But you know what? Once you start getting at 30, 35, and once you hit that 40 plus, it's like, oh. All you are doing is thinking about how sad and pathetic am I that I am willing to wait 40 minutes for food that literally does nothing for me. It actually hurts me. It actually causes cancer. It actually makes you grow titties. And I don't mean the ones that be like, yucker. I mean the ones where when you take off your shirt, they're like, oh. It's been a rough time for you, hasn't it? I'm here for you anytime you need it. It's like, nah, I've just had a few too many Crunchwrap Supremes in the past couple months. Relax. And they're like, oh, you stanky fuck. You smell like it too. It's like, thought I showered. But okay. Watch. Sooner they're going to have like body wash of like Crunchwrap Supreme body wash. And you know what? I'm going to try it out. But when is it too long to wait in the drive-thru? What is the number? Maybe it's not really a number. Maybe it's the type of place it is, and you make a judgment, and you see like, it's this feeling like, I just feel like this should be going a little bit quicker. You don't want to be trapped in the drive-thru, even in the music video Trapped in the Drive-Thru. The song is what? 11, 13 minutes long? And that whole situation took forever. Just singing, talking. Granted, not much of a line, but hey. What you trying to do, blind me? Which, by the way, everyone in drive-thru lines, always from behind, is trying to blind you. But look, when is it sad? Should there be a self-worth? Wow, funny how I wrapped it around that. Is there a self-worth? Is there a self-evaluation period where you're like, this is sad? This is going beyond my moral clauses. This is going beyond everything I ever said I wouldn't do. And I'm not even excessively hungry. I just want to get a few things just to cap the night away. Helps me sleep. That's what we all try to tell ourselves. It helps me sleep. It's like, yeah. And one day, it's going to help you sleep for a very, very long time. And I'm not talking about your sleep apnea machine. The reason why you have trouble breathing when you sleep is because you eat like shit. For most of us. But if you go quickly and it's a 5-minute trip, boom, pull up after a couple cars, get your shit, go to the window, get out. You know what? You could justify a little bit. It was a quick interaction. You regret it. Boom, keep it moving. When you make a 35 plus minute, where you get 35 plus minutes to change your mind. Well, I should say 28 minutes, because once you get into a little barrier where you can't really back out, you're kind of stuck. And you're not going to go through and get to the freaking intercom machine after waiting 28 minutes and be like, you know what? I changed my mind. I want better for myself. Now, you've already made a decision that you did not want better for yourself. And you know what? That's okay. Join the club of sad, pathetic people waiting to eat this trash food. And by the way, why is your Doritos Locos Taco? Why is the bottom always cracked when I take the first bite and all the beef just falls onto the fucking wrapper? It's cool though. Clint's getting spicy, but not Cho's. Not for Cho's. Chosen one. But when has it gone too far? Should there be just an internal barometer where you know that should be one of those turning points? Like if you're struggling with losing weight, you're struggling with things. When you're sitting in those lines, ordering food that fucks up your diet, you know it's going to fuck up your next morning. You know it's going to make your body not feel great. And you follow through with it after 30, 35 minutes. One, you may have a problem. Two, you're in a dark place in life. And three, you absolutely have no self-respect for each other, for yourself. You have no self-respect or self-worth for yourself. All that shit. When you want to talk about self-worth and self-respect, if you wait more than 30, 35 minutes in the drive-thru, you have absolutely none of mine, and you should have absolutely none of yourself, because you have absolutely none from anyone. Everyone in that line has no respect for anyone that has waited as long as they have, and we've all done it. But we justify as we're sitting there in our car listening to Chris Long on a podcast. We're sitting there listening to music or whatever the hell. We're sitting there and we try to justify, like, you know what? I've already been here 15 minutes. You know, I gotta at least see it through. You try to be like, I'm gonna be the guy to see it through. You know what? You don't have to see through everything. It's like if you've been on 8 dates with a girl, you finally take her home. She pulls down her pants and realizes, wow, her dick's bigger than mine. You know what? You don't have to see it through because you felt attached to her personality. You know what? You take the L, kick her out, maybe let her suck it a little. Call it a day. Or a night. Talk about a nightcap. But you're probably going to regret waiting in that drive-thru more than you're going to regret finding out that she was not exactly equipped the way that you thought she was. But maybe next time you're in line, maybe just take out this 8-minute segment and play that 8 minutes while you're waiting. And if you play that 8 minutes and you still stay in line, much respect for you for having conviction. You have respect for me for having conviction, and you would rather be wrong. And you would rather be wrong to admit you're wrong, which, you know what? I respect. I respect anyone that says, fuck you. I'm getting this shit. Respect. But just know I was here to help you. But hey, what the fuck do I know? All I'm doing is watching out after your health, bad habits, Fuck me though, Use your time more sufficiently. When you get off work, just go to fuck home. The first thing you should do when you get off work, there's only a few times, maybe you go by the grocery store, have to get stuff for that. The only time you should not go straight home when you get off of work is if you're getting stuff that is for the home. And I don't mean peace of mind. I mean, you actually need shit for the home. And if you don't bring it home, you're going to have no peace of mind. You don't want to go home and shit on the toilet and realize, fuck. Forgot to get my diapers. And on that note, we are going to wrap this up. Like a grilled cheese burrito. God damn, that fucking cheese and sauce mixture is so fucking good. Someone please help me. One of my biggest fears is waiting in the drive-thru and it breaks down when you're in between like the concrete drive-thru waves. That's like my worst fear. Because like, what happens if I break down? Then I have a bunch of people angry behind me. I have nowhere to go. And people angry late at night getting food they shouldn't eat instead of having to settle in and go home and eat some pre-frozen garlic bread. It's not a trade-off you want to be responsible for. Responsibility is overrated. It just is. I don't believe you should always want to move up in a company if you don't want to. Higher pay doesn't always actually equal to better life. I'll take a little less play. I'll take a little less pay. Have more of a work-life balance. Less responsibility. And call it a day. There's nothing wrong with that. This whole, you should always try to move up in the company. It's like, if you want to. And if the pay is absurdly better, maybe. But if you don't have a vision for that company, you don't want to ingrain just because once you move up, I mean, it's over for you. You've given your life to the game. Yeah, they literally buy you with their checks. And that's okay. But just know like your work-life balance is over. Your potential to want to do anything outside of it, it's over. Once you've taken a position where they actually are unhappy when you fuck up and it actually affects their livelihood of their business, like, yeah, not what you're looking for. Responsibility is not that cool. I actually think avoiding responsibility at every turn is always the way to go. Now, if you have responsibility that comes to your lap, you have to do what you got to do. I'm not saying, hey, it's cool to avoid, seeing your child again. Spend 4 months, go see your child. Not exactly good for your probation. And child support. They're going to squeeze it out of you, bud. Might as well go see him and at least be like, at least hate the reason why you hate his mother in person. But like, at least tell him, I hate your fucking mother. She's a fucking cunt. She's draining me dry. And if I don't come see you, she's going to drain me more dry and make me perceived as a piece of shit. So all because of you. All because of you. I hate your mother. But you know what? I'll always love you. And I hope you always will with me. And that's episode 88 of the Off and Beat podcast. Like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow the Spotify, leave a review. Podcast episode's a little bit better than the last one, but hey. Hopefully I didn't tip the scales. Always turn left. Don't be the guy that backs up in a drive-thru. When has backing up in a drive-thru ever worked out for you? Now's not the time to work on your agile feet. You know what? Keep moving forward. Run forward. Don't be that guy that runs backwards on a treadmill. You want to run backwards in drills and on the track. That's cool. You look a little weird, but hey, there's actually a physical purpose for athletic ability and just strengthening tendons. If you're running backwards on the treadmill, like honestly, I hope you flip like an armadillo, and then I hope you roll into one of those squeeze bottles that are supposed to spray down the fucking treadmills and equipment. I hope you squirt your eye. And then I hope when you go to the doctor, they say, hey, you're going to have to lose an eye. And then you're like, fuck. So then you go home and the Red Ryder BB gun that you got your kid for Christmas. It's like, hey, daddy, look. And he's like, no, don't point that. You're going to shoot your eye out, kid. Then he just shoots your other eye out, kid. And says, I want to be like Alec Baldwin one day. He's like, well, you are. He's like, but I want to be on 30 Rock. And he's like, I'm about to throw 30 rocks on your fucking face. Because your mom, I fucking hate her. And don't forget to suck some titties. And make it all worthwhile. Have a great day. Hey Arnold Palmer, can you suck my sweet tea lemonade? I know you got AIDS, squeezing lemons in your eye.